common sight almost anywhere in the world. But here in Dubai on the Arabian Gulf, the problem is new. The problem, one of communications. A problem that is growing almost daily as the country exploits its wealth and expands its trade. A wealth and trade that during the last few years have grown out of all recognition. For many years, the twin towns of Deira and Shindagh were linked by a single bridge, which, though now twinned, still causes delays due to the opening of bascules. Bascules built to allow free passage to waterborne traffic plying up and down the creek. Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, therefore commissioned Sir William Halcrow and partners to carry out a feasibility study for a new and more direct link between the two towns. A bridge nearer to the sea was not possible. The reason being the same as when the original bridge was sited: the location of a construction site for offshore oil production jackets that require direct access to the sea. The route down to the sea, therefore, through the core Dubai, had to remain open at all times. To link Shindagh and Deira, there was only one possible solution for Sir William Halcrow and partners to design for building, near the mouth of the creek, a tunnel. This would enable the creek to continue to be used not only to take the jackets down to the open sea, but also allow the stream of small craft to tie up at their traditional moorings. An added advantage of a tunnel would be its proximity to Port Rashid, also designed by Sir William Halcrow and partners, and recently completed by Costain Civil Engineering Limited, who were now awarded the contract for constructing the tunnel. Preliminary studies demonstrated the feasibility of both immersed and dry methods of construction. Costain, however, elected to build the tunnel in the dry. Stage 1 envisaged the dredging back of the Deira bank to form a new channel for shipping, and the building of a cofferdam out into the creek from the Shindagh side. From this side, excavation was to take place, and the building of the tunnel commenced once pumping had dried out the area. Stage 2 would be to create an island in the middle of the creek, reopen the original navigable channel, now between the island and Shindagh, close the diverted channel, build a new cofferdam linking the island and the Deira bank, pump the area dry, and start building the tunnel from Deira towards the island. Finally, on completion, the original bank would be reinstated. This was the plan. The cofferdam, driven out into the creek from the Shindagh bank, would form a protection for the first stage, and inside it, ramps would be excavated. Construction in the dry meant that the water table, lying just below the surface, would have to be drawn down. To achieve this, a well pointing system would be installed and the water table lowered. A progression of well points installed at increasingly lower levels would enable excavation to continue. At the deepest part of the excavation, well pointing would be insufficient and would have to be complemented by a system of drainage channels dug laterally across the excavation, allowing seepage to be collected at sumps and pumped directly into the creek. This was the method which would continue throughout, and construction began. For economy in design, the thickness of the base was varied, and where stress is permitted, a haunched profile was adopted. Firstly, the haunches were excavated out to a level below the ramps cut for the main foundations. The entire area was then blinded with a weak concrete mix, on which was laid the bituthene waterproofing membrane. To protect the membrane, a concrete screed was then introduced. And on the screed was placed the reinforced concrete base. The walls of the vehicular tunnels were then built, and later the outside wall of what was to be the pedestrian subway and services tunnel, to be followed by the roof of the main tunnels and the roof of the pedestrian subway. Each operation continuing simultaneously at an agreed distance one behind the other, governed by the gain in strength of the previous concreting operation. Once the roof was completed, the bituthene was brought up the walls and over the roof to provide an enclosing waterproof seal. Protection for the bituthene covering the outside walls was provided by concrete blockwork, and for the roof by a concrete screed. The excavation and structure were then backfilled. The roof of the section of tunnel below the navigable channel of the creek was given extra protection against possible damage by shipping by the placing of a layer of rock armoring. Once the work from the Schindegger side had advanced to the full extent of the coffer dam, the island was formed, and work commenced from the Dera bank and the tunnel completed. A new link between Schindegger and Dera has now been forged. A new efficiency within Dubai created, and the most modern tunnel in the Gulf is now in operation. Opened in December 1975 by Sheikh Khalifa bin Hamid Al Thani, ruler of Qatar, in the presence of Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, the President of the United Arab Emirates, and Sheikh Rashid bin Zayed Al Maktoum, Vice President of the Emirates and ruler of Dubai. It marks yet another step forward in their close cooperation and design for the future.